How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation, time to get that imagination all cranked up, get into some creativity, and it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from Ignacio Noe. And if you're not familiar with his work, check right over here. He is a phenomenal illustrator and comic book artist. I love his work. I think his line work is gorgeous. His color is just spot on, and he comes up with just some wonderful layouts. I really love this piece. I thought this was such a fun idea. You have this main kind of line of action through your composition that everything kind of blends off of. That's really well done. You've got this nice weight as you see this arm hanging down there. Great expression, lovely body mechanics working through here, and just a really interesting upward perspective that works really well here too, because this is definitely difficult to master this kind of a perspective and get it all to work right as well. And he just does a gorgeous, phenomenal job there. So definitely check out more stuff from him. I think he is a huge talent. I believe he's Argentinian, so I don't think he gets nearly enough credit. I mean, check out these facial expressions. These are just so wonderfully done. I love his work. I recently came across his stuff, and I can't get enough. I think he's phenomenal talent. Another great piece here. I love the coloring of the little butterflies that kind of mimics the coloring of the torches here, and you get this composition background that just works so well. It leads the viewer's eye right back in here as well, and these characters frame the scene. You've got these such rich background characters as well, with interesting expressions and everything going on, and these wonderful foreground characters with great expressions and real personality in their faces. Just a wonderful job. I mean, check out this. I love this kind of a nose is really, I like that little line across there. It's a huge thing that I'm a fan of, and the way that he renders these eyes is just gorgeous. Really loose hair. Just a phenomenal artist. I could definitely study his work for days and days and still learn more and more each time I look at it. I love this one too. It's just a really playful line of action here. I love that he gives her a little bit of pigeon-toedness, and the angle of the head looking down. Just a wonderful job. So like I said, I urge you guys to check out more stuff from him. A phenomenal artist. And I did want to share a quote from him, but unfortunately, like I said, I don't believe English is the primary language, so this is a translation, and I did do a little bit of altering of the translation to just try and have it a little more cohesive, so apologies, but I think I hopefully captured the spirit of the quote that he gave, and it was, sometimes it's a bit routine, but in those times, it's good to look for the space to find some freedom. I thought that was a great quote. No matter in life or even in your art, if you start to feel like you're getting in a rut, try and find different ways to break things up and to express things differently, or look from a different perspective, or just to have that sense of, let's just kind of take a break from where we're at and do something different and something more freeing. I think that always is a good way, especially if I feel like every once in a while on some of the book that I'm working on, I'll feel like I kind of hit a wall where I'm just like reworking something and reworking something and reworking something, and by just getting up and getting a coffee or just getting some fresh air or something, just to break up my mind and get a little more space and freedom from those things, I tend to come back a little more fresh and with a different perspective and a different angle, and it breaks up that routine, as it were. So let's go ahead and get into some animation. Still working on this skirmish shot. Definitely added those background characters and this little prop and everything here to give us a little more composition, make everything a little more interesting yesterday. But I think I want to get back into doing some more animating today. So let's go ahead and turn off our background characters and our prop here. We are using Autodesk Maya 2014, and we're using the Goon rig, multiple variations of it, from the How to Cheat in Maya series, which I will link everything down in the description below if you guys want to check that stuff out for yourselves. And we're just going to continue working through here. I think what I want to do today is just kind of not really focus on one particular area, but just focus on a couple of things that have been bugging me throughout the shot overall. And then if we have time, maybe do another about 30 frames at the end of just kind of settling on the character on the left over here. So I think that's kind of the approach that I want to do. There's just been some things that are kind of bugging me, and I want to address those before, like just pausing on this frame right here. This hand is not correct. It should be open because it's going back to grabbing that, and just hitting up some notes like that, which are a little bit smaller notes, but kind of an overall thing. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, I want to turn my nerve curves back on and turn on my controllers, which, where were those? Here. There we go. And again, we'll just go ahead and save our file here, and go back and kind of frame through this and just hit up some troublesome areas and just do kind of a further breakdown pass, I guess would be where we're at here. So I think this works all right here, but I want to do something with this other arm. I don't think this other arm works very well yet. So I like the hand pose and I like everything here, but I just don't feel like it works very well. So I think I could start somewhere like that. Now let's go ahead and hold it. Take what we have at like 56 and put that all the way to like 45. So we just have a little bit of movement there. And then I think I'll want to close this hand up a little bit more, so we get sort of a loose clench here. I just don't like the way that it's open so much like that. I feel like it's distracting. I don't want to leave it like that. So let's get that middle finger down here. And again, we don't have to have a tight clench, but just something a little bit looser. Because usually when you're running, you tend to have a little more grip on your hands. Even if you're not super tight, you just tend to not have them be open like this running. There'd be effort that you'd be putting into doing that. And usually your body wants to go for the most natural, least amount of effort you want to put into something. And especially during a run, it's like you'd have to almost think through to keep your hands open during a run, which we don't really want to accentuate that very much, but I think we'll still just play around and do a couple more interesting hand poses here if we can. And still get a little bit of, maybe we'll do a little bit like this, just to mix it up a little bit. And let's get that thumb over here, down. Just that's a little bit better. And maybe we'll universally just grab all of these guys and make it a little bit tighter here. Okay, so let's go ahead and hold that. Keep that closed till maybe around frame 1. I'm going to delete this one and keep it tight till about there. Now I like that one, so maybe we'll go ahead and still delete this. This is at the shoulder here. I feel like the shoulder should still be up a little bit more. It's fine there. Let's take what we have at 10, put that to 5. Let's look here. I don't think we ever did anything to break up the movement on these these guys at all. So let's look here. What layer did I have that on? Was that 10? I know I put it on something. There we go. Just turn that off while we're working. Okay. So right here, let's still have it kind of drag back a little bit. Again, we'll put it where it is at about 30. But we'll have it kind of pull back a little bit here. So we can kind of lead there, maybe even have a little bit more drag back here. And we'll go ahead and drag it back there. And forward here. Drag it back. Put that one frame forward. And forward there. Drag it back here. And go to there. Might be a little too much, so maybe we'll go somewhere more like this. Just so we kind of loosen up this movement a little bit more. Okay, and let's look at this hand here. Let's use a similar timing. So we're just going to go in and punch in and set a key on everything right here. And then we'll go in and actually carve that key up so we have that timing working for us. Again, like here, we'll go ahead and bring that back a little bit, out. And here we could go back, and let's go a little bit inward, kind of like that. Now here, I think I want to go a little bit more forward here, just so it reads in silhouette there. Okay, and again, let's go back to the wrist here. And we'll go up a little bit here, over. And we'll go back there so we get some drag. Again, up there. Go a little bit back there. Okay, I think that works a bit better. Now let's look again at kind of how we're going to approach the grasping of the sword here too. I don't think we did very much polish there. So let's go ahead and lock in everything there. I think that works fine. Maybe we'll take a step back here, because this should be up a little bit more. eventually want to get to this point here, right? And we like this one there. So let's go ahead and delete pretty much everything in between. Delete that, delete this. So at this point we'd want this to be up a little bit higher and this to be over a little bit, up a little bit, maybe out a little bit more here. And this one, we want to bring it over a little bit more. Okay. Okay, that feels better. And let's take this and move that to about a few frames before. Even sooner than that. Take away like 24 and put that at about 30. We're gonna have to kind of carve that up a little bit better. And let's rotate that up a little bit more. Bring this up a little bit more here too. Okay. Now let's look again. And we're going to need this to be, let's go to rotate Z, a little bit higher. This to be over like that. This should probably be a little bit higher. Okay, I want that to be a little bit more over, up. That to be a little bit more like that. We should get to 25 a couple frames sooner. Okay. Alright, let's delete that. Make sure we lock in everything there. And we're going to need to get this thumb to go up and over here. And then we're going to want it to kind of grip around there better. Let's just keep carving out that pose a little bit more. Make it feel like there's a little bit more of a grip on that sword. here, bring that over. Down here, index. Get that thumb out a little bit more. Okay. So we'll set that one, set that, just so we get better kind of grip over everything. Just so we can sell that a little bit better. Alright, I think that finally works a bit better. The other hand and arm work a little bit better. So let's do just a play blast, just kind of looking through that stuff and make sure that still plays well. So we'll do pretty much beginning to about frame before 2. And just going to pause this and do a play blast, and let's take a look at it. Alright, it's better, but I think maybe it's a little overplayed on the other arm. So I think we could just turn down kind of how the upper arm is pumping. Just tone that down probably about 20% or so. Just feels a little over the top here. So let's take this. And again, we want to keep pretty much everything we have. We just want to kind of amp it down a little bit. And make sure we're just doing it kind of through this area. So we're not really affecting anything too badly here. That way we can still get that thumb going through and see it in silhouette there. Now that's going to be a little bit of a problem. So let's look at the rotate Z here. And let's keep it out a little bit more, just so it doesn't intersect through there. Now another thing I wanted to do too is kind of play with the fingers a little bit more on this hand. So just so we can get a little bit more interesting hand poses here. Let's go ahead and still keep the fingers out a little bit more. Maybe not hit this quite yet. So we'll still keep them stretched out a little bit more here. Take the index and we'll delay it a frame or 2, and same with the middle here, so they wouldn't have hit quite yet, just so there's a little bit of variation there. And let's take the little and we'll push it forward a frame here too. Just to vary up that grip a little bit more. Alright, I feel like that's working better. Okay. Well, good. That stuff was bugging me a lot while I was playing through everything here. And let's look at the hand. Let's go ahead and set it there. Delete that one so it starts to open a little bit sooner. Okay. And let's start going through this hand. I know this is going to be a problem throughout a lot of stuff that we really haven't addressed yet. So let's take a look again, kind of through everything, and just watch that hand, because I know there's some portions where it disconnects. And also, like here, we'd want to have that arm forward a little bit more. more so it doesn't eat through the leg. So we can have a little bit of grit in there, just so that we're not intersecting with the leg. So maybe give us another frame to start that though. So there's going to be a little uneasiness in our curve there, which is fine. And let's ease into that a little bit better so it doesn't start quite so much here. But there's a little give. And then we'll just key this kind of on ones here. Because otherwise, you see we were intersecting through that leg. This was one of those frames where I wanted to sell that grip back on the sword here. So we've got this, which is fine, and then eventually it'll get to that. But let's go here. We'll go ahead and delete this, and we'll get that little grip out here, 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 there. Actually, let's bring this little one in so it can kind of start. Movement here. So you can kind of see it through there. So that's fine. And let's start here. We need to have a frame where it's kind of opening up to it. So maybe we'll do it here. And again, just want to do one so we're kind of like anticipating that we're going to be gripping it back again. This one, and we'll delete that one, but we'll hold this for another frame or so, just so we can ease out of that a little bit more. Just so you can see that we're re-gripping that a little bit better. And also here, let's try and make this a little bit better of a pose there. And let's go down, over a little bit. Just so we can have a little bit of movement there too. So you see we have a little bit of push against it and then recoil from it. So it grips a little better. Okay. Again, we're just kind of watching our posing throughout everything here. I think we could probably have a little bit more elbow twist there. That's a little broken there. we're gonna have some frames that we can't make super polished, but we just want to try and do it where we can. Maybe we could push this up a little bit more, and kind of a little bit over like this. I think that would work a little bit better for us. Feel a little more natural. Here, a bit of up and over here too. And again, just trying to make this feel a little more natural. To work a little bit better. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just so it feels a little more natural through everything. Go ahead and do that, but I think right here we need to extend the fingers out a little bit more because we got that intersection going on through there. So again, we'll just open those up a little bit more. Still want to try and keep a good grip on there, but that we're not going through the prop. Here, and again we want to kind of go with more of that sort of a pose there. And let's look at the fingers here, make sure that we go. There's fine. I'm going to delete this. Okay. I feel like all of this stuff works from there to there. So there's a little bit of movement throughout there too. It's fine. Let's go and delete that one. Just kind of just at the elbow pops here right there. So let's take what we have here at 95 and make that till about 98. Maybe at 96 we need to go a little bit lower on that shoulder. Still try to keep it so that it doesn't pop through there. Let's look here some more. It's still working there. So let's make 98 our new 101. I think we need to go a little bit higher here. Just to try to keep that hand connected to the arm. And get our fingers shoulders stretched a little bit more here. And we're going to need to get that shoulder where it's fine there. And start it going up here a little bit. Some sort of a blend in between those poses there a little bit more. So you don't have that big pop, 1, 2, then there. Again, we're just kind of looking through to make sure this hand stays connected. So we'll go here. I think we got a problem with the shoulder actually there. Okay, so not perfect, but definitely cleaned up some of those rough spots there. And we still want to go up a little bit more. Fingers need to be out a bit more here too. Thought we cleaned that up, but for some reason that's still sticking out to me. And let's look at this. Move that over a bit. Let's do a play blast on that because I feel like there's probably could simplify some of that movement. And again, we're just kind of looking at this arm and that hand there. So let's just do from like 86 to about 114. And we'll do a quick play blast and see how that's coming along. All right. See, there's still some problems here. You get this little jut backward and forward on the elbow. And that's one of the things that's nice and pushing about using the Goon rig or any sort of these rigs where it's really just ball joints and straights, is it doesn't let you cheat too much stuff. You got to still make sure, otherwise you get this poppy stuff in there. So we want to get rid of where it goes back here. So we want to try and keep that a little bit straighter if we can, which we can. We just got to figure out where we got to do it. So I'll just try and keep it straight throughout this whole thing. Which we're just probably going to cheat through the shoulder there. And that should hopefully keep us from having that little bit of fluctuation. Okay, let's do another play blast and see if we polish that up. Okay, yeah, so just looking at that arm again, you're just not seeing that little pop come up. Now, one thing that I don't quite love is just how fast this foot goes back up to there. So let's look at that ball roll. It's too quick. So keep that frame for like another, and then hit it at about 98. Maybe 97. And maybe don't want to hold it so much. And I don't want it to flat off either. Okay, so let's do a play blast and see how that plays, if that's a little bit. Okay, I think we lost a little bit of time there. Sorry about that. I don't know if the resume went there. So I think where it cut off was when we were looking at that arm. We readjusted some of the hammer here so it would feel like it's actually flat on the ground, and we had to do some tweaking with this knee and this leg movement so that it would avoid some of that here. So sorry if that got cut off there, but so yeah, we just went in and rotated this hammer here so it would feel like it's really flat on the ground, and did some kind of keying on ones there, and then went in on this foot and had to do some stuff to do some workaround so the knee wasn't going to intersect through that plane there. And then another thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to touch up this hand. I feel like that movement doesn't work very well here. So let's go ahead and save our file and try and do some polish on that a little bit more. So let's make sure we're still recording. Okay, great. Like I said, kind of lost a little bit of stuff there, so I apologize about that, but hopefully it wasn't too much, just a little bit there. So we've got kind of this right here where we've got our IK switch, and it's not that great, so let's keep it there and then switch it off here so it's a full move there. Let's bring it back here. This is eventually where we want to get to, so we'll delete this. Why are we having this kind of disconnect here? Let's get our IK weight, make sure, see, I knew there was something there. Let's delete that. Wasn't quite switched on and off there. Moves a little better. That feels better. And again, let's do a little bit of an arc here. And I'll do a little bit of drag there too. start bending back just yet, though, because they wouldn't have had the contact there. Maybe, just maybe, go ahead and set that there, and we'll delete this so we can have one frame in between. Try and make this a little bit closer. And lift it up a little bit. Try and get that blend to work a little bit better so it's not as poppy. That feels a little better. And then also, let's get a better hand pose throughout here. So let's get that thumb. Try to get it out of the chest if we can here. Let's just zero that out here. There we go. Sometimes you just gotta zero stuff out. Again, let's look at just the thumb. So I like it right here. So make sure we key everything there. And I like everything here, that's fine. And we'll key all those and then move that so it holds a bit more. Maybe even one more frame to get there. One frame sooner. Yeah, let's look at the other fingers there. Try to get them to actually feel like they're resting on the body there. Okay. And then I'll take everything and I'll key all that on these fingers. Key selected. this a little bit more. Key selected there. Eventually we like this one. So delete everything in between there and hold this for a little bit longer. So actually hold kind of here a little bit more. I'll delete this one. Just want the bases and the mids pretty much deleted here. So they blend a little bit better. Let's do a little bit more drag here. That should work a little better. Let's do a play blast and see how we're doing here. It's okay, but like I said, I still want to slow down the timing a little bit here. So maybe we'll attack that. Let's see. We'll go ahead and save our file and see if we can give ourselves maybe another 12 frames in between kind of the landing of this character here. Kind of between probably like 95 and 97. Give ourselves another half a second there. So let's go ahead and save an alternate version just in case, because with all the switching between IK and FK that we have, I don't want to mess things up just in case we don't time everything just right. So we'll just pause this, save an alternate version, and then let's get into it. And like I was saying, you know, it's always good to save multiple versions and to save often. The reason I saved an alternate version here is just in case I screw anything up when I'm retiming things, I can always revert back to the version we just had previously. So like I said, right now I want to try and make sure I grab everything I can here, and I want to add about 12 frames in here. And then probably another few frames on the other side of this one here. So we can have kind of that slow moment. And then go back in again. So let's go back to about 70, just see how we blend out of this, make sure everything's still working. And I'm sure we'll have to polish some stuff up in between there. But ended up giving ourselves a few more frames, so that pushes our shot back to what, about 138 or so, 35. just making sure I didn't have anything that got off by retiming that a little bit differently. So let's do a play blast and see if that timing works a little better. I'm sure it's not perfect yet, but let's see. Okay, it's okay, but I think it might be a little too slow now, so maybe about 4 frames less. Let's see, so cut a couple frames out of here. And let's see if that, I just did 2 right now, so let's see if that works better. Okay, that's better, but I still think I need another quiet moment after that second hammer hits before the next one, so there's just another little beat in between there. So it would be pretty much like between, like maybe about 4 more frames here. So let's see. So grab, let's see, 2 frames here. Sure, we're gonna have some stuff that we gotta clean up in that too. I can see this frame right there, that there's some jankiness there for sure, so I'll have to do that. But I think overall timing wise that should work better, so let's do another play blast. Okay, it's a lot better, but I think maybe we'll get rid of that 1 extra frame that we added in the middle there, because I think that it's losing a little bit of its punchiness, play on words, but the quick timing that we have for that punch by adding an extra frame into that, so maybe we'll get rid of that one. So we'll just undo that one. Yeah, because I think we threw 1 more frame in there. But I still like this being a little bit slower. It just helps us to give a little bit different texture in there and still show that there's kind of more anticipation and more of a slow moment as it builds up to that quick punch. So let's do a play blast with that 1 frame gone out of there. Okay, we definitely are gonna have to go in there and, you know, we've got these gaps of like 8 frames or 6 frames where there's nothing going on, so we're gonna need to break that down a little more tomorrow, but I think the timing overall works a lot better than having those things all hit so quickly. And this is something I've been talking about for a few days, of retiming this a little bit more. But I think that overall is a better timing for that ending. I like the 2 hits being quick, one right after each other, but I think it created a little too much chaos. So I think the texture between the timing of the first hit and the second one still gives us that little bit of different beat between those 2 slams down to the hammer. Because you've got one that's probably, what, 10 frames, and another one that's like 6 frames, something like that. Got that slower one at the beginning, and then the second one. And the other thing that I want to do is time the hand movement and the hammer a little bit different. So let's see if we could do that just yet. Maybe that's something that we can still do fairly quickly before we call this one for... I'm also going to save this version here too before I do anything else. Alright, so I wanted to try and get this, so this hand move could hopefully, let's see, grab everything here. Set that to about 98. Bring that to about 100. To about there. See, there's kind of some variation for when we got that IK-FK switch there. I feel like that works a little better. push this, all this stuff forward about 3 frames if we can here. Start this move. Set that there. A couple of frames sooner. Just so it gives us a little bit different timing there. Now let's take this hand here. And we'll hold it till about 112. There's some fun stuff here, I remember that. So we want to take, we have it 110 and bring that to about 112. Or 113. Ourselves one more frame to kind of ease in there. And try and get that sword not to sink into the ground there. So we'll grab that one. We'll do a little bit more drag from the blade edge there. Key this on ones. Bring that down a little bit. Let's look at the actual hand here. Key that one. I'm going to delete this, so maybe we can still have a little bit of movement. Let's actually put that there. And move that 1 frame sooner. So we still have a little bit of movement there. Let's look at the elbow here. Try and get that out a little bit more. And we'll have to polish this stuff up a little bit more tomorrow. Let's try and do just a little bit more here. still something going on with that arm here. Oh, try and get that to be locked in there. There we go. Yeah, I think we should still have the sword drag a little bit more here. Maybe we'll point the tip in so a little bit more towards that. Let's see. That's alright. Alright, let's do a play blast and just see. Again, it's a bunch of stuff we're going to have to break down more tomorrow, but I think it's working a little better. So we'll do one more play blast and just look at. Alright, it's better. Still needs some more polish there. And there's a little hiccup there in the transition. You see there's a little bit of a jolt. I think it's when the IK-FK switch finally kicks in, where it pops up there. And I want it to hit probably about 2 frames sooner than that too. So let's see if we can still try and polish that out. So let's go ahead and grab everything here. Maybe we'll just look at the translate Y here. For some reason we're getting a little bit of a problem here, but let's see why it's doing that. Oh well. Don't need this many frames going between it. So let's take everything we've got here. You know what, I'm gonna call it for right now. I'm getting some bugs and I wanna make sure that I don't mess anything up here. I'll take another look at it. So we'll do a final play blast and just wrap everything up. Okay, still have some crust and stuff to fix up there, but I think it's working better. The timing, I think, feels much better. The ending of that was just a little too chaotic. I think we're going to have to figure out something to do with that other character during that slower beat there. It just holds for a little bit more, but I think we did some good stuff. We got that other arm working a little bit better. We got the unsheathing of the sword working a little bit more. Made sure that there weren't any problems with the other character's hand gripping the big mallet, and kind of retimed some stuff. So it was a pretty successful approach to cleaning up some big errors that were still in there. We still have some polish to do, and I'd like to do a little more breathe and relax at the end of the shot, or kind of settle, because it kind of cuts off real quick at the end. So a little bit more, maybe where he's just kind of holding that sword at the end a little bit, just to add a kind of subtle moment or a quiet moment to end off the shot. So we still have a few more days to work on this stuff, And I think we could work on this one for quite a while. I wouldn't mind throwing like a whole slew of other characters in the background. I think that'd be kind of fun too. But we'll see. Don't want to make sure we're still keeping it simple and keeping the main beats of this working a little bit better. But definitely overall happy with the new timing. I think it just works a little bit better. It was getting a little too chaotic and tough to read. I think this works a little bit better. Still think that might have a little too much of a hold there on that character, so I'll have to see. I want to do something interesting so it's not just completely dead there. But we were looking originally at the beautiful work of Ignacio. Did I spell that wrong? I might have. Hold on one second. Yeah, I did. It's Ignacio Noe. For some reason, I just spelled it wrong on my notes here. I'm saying it correctly. I was wondering if I was saying it incorrectly, but he said sometimes it's a bit routine, but in those times it's good to look for the space to find some freedom. So if you feel like you're getting stuck, if you feel like you're in a rut, if you feel like you're in a routine, pause, take a break, go off, do something different, try and get a different perspective. Remember those reasons that you got into doing what it is that you love, and try and infuse that sense of freedom, that sense of imagination, that sense of creativity, maybe in a new direction. Mix things up a little bit more. So thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It was a little bit more nitpicky stuff, but as we get further and further into this shot, it's going to be more of those polishing notes or further breakdowns, which definitely in shorter shots where we don't give ourselves as many days to work on it, we're not able to approach that kind of stuff. So we're getting into some more subtle stuff here for sure. And I mean, if we ever wanted to do some facial expression stuff, we could spend quite a while still polishing this thing up for sure too. But I think that'll wrap it up for today. Definitely a longer one. I think we're going probably about an hour and 20 minutes or so on this one. Try to keep them around an hour. But thanks for hanging out with me. I love you guys lots. I think you're amazing. I know you can do it. I hope you believe in yourself. I hope you carved out some time today to work on your own dreams. And thanks for sharing some time with me. Hopefully you learned something, got inspired, or got encouraged, or bare minimum at least learned something not to do. Either way, I just hope that you're working on your dreams. I do. I really do. And feel free, as always, to throw your own links down below if you want some thumbs up or you want some encouragement, or you just want to share the stuff that you're creating as well, like get an extra set of eyes on it. But I think that'll wrap it up before I get too rambly. Thanks again for all the likes and subscribes. You guys are amazing, and that'll wrap it up for today. So we will see you for some more animation and some more imagination, some more creation, some more just having fun, working on our dreams together tomorrow.